Let's pretend that you're going to a negotiation table. Let's say to negotiate a piece of property or real estate. But in that negotiation, the other person has a gun. And at any point, they can decide to pull the gun, point it at your face, and change the whole dynamic of how this negotiation is going. Would you say that that's still a negotiation now? Or is this really something else? Now let's change that question up a little bit. Let's say you're going to that same negotiation for this property deal, but you guys have drinks at the negotiation table and somebody spikes your drink and they spike it with some sort of drug that completely changes your emotional state. And it's so affecting on your brain and your emotional state that you're no longer clear in negotiating your needs and wants and price and all those things. And you end up signing over and you end up making a deal in this negotiation under this drug induced state. Would you consider this a negotiation still? Would you consider this fair? Of course not, right? I'm Paul, behavioral and mental performance expert, and today we're going to talk about a terrible model for relationships and relationship success, and that's what has been termed the transactional model of relationships. The transactional model of relationship posits that the essence of forming relationships hinges on a mutual exchange of worth. It assumes that the formation of relationships fundamentally relies on a balance of reciprocity. And this model or idea of transactional relationship is being applied to the romantic model and of sexual relationships. And it sees these sexual relationships as developing around a mutual exchange of valued goods where different people are getting needs met and or wanting to get needs met, and they're looking at their sexual partners as someone with goods or attributes or things that they can exchange value with. This dynamic revolves around trading things that, while not identical, possess equal enough value for the relationship to be successful. So, example of a transactional relationship could be that a hot girl is offering her body and offering her being the trophy and the attractive woman on the man's arm and offering sex in exchange for his financial security, for example. Okay. That works under the transactional model. And according to their model, all relationships are basically like that, even ones with marriages and other exchanges that are not the trophy wife model. People who promote this model, what they're telling me is that they don't understand women. Right? Guys and men, particularly who promote this model, do not understand how women operate, how seduction works, and how desire is. So, as soon as somebody tells me that they are in favor of this transactional model and they start using language and explanation of relationships as an exchange of goods, I immediately know, at least if it's a man, that he has no idea how seduction and desire works. This guy, and no offense to you guys out there who have this, but the chances are they're not delivering good sexual experiences. They don't have good game. They don't know how to inspire a woman's emotions. They don't know how to trigger that genuine desire. And what they think is genuine desire, because they'll argue, because their egos will make them argue that they're experiencing that, really is just a woman making them feel a certain way in exchange for that value. Certainly, transactional relationships do exist. And the men and the women who are in the coaching space in the psychology world who promote this model they are certainly most likely in one and promoting that to others. The problem with that is the transactional model doesn't take into account our natural ability to attach to another human being and all of the desire and the emotions that are involved with that. Bringing your emotions and that desire and that attachment to the negotiation table is like bringing both a gun to the table as well as poison to put in someone's drink. When you are drinking the poison, your emotions change and you start to weigh out transactional value much differently when you care for a woman and you have the emotional attachment. And so does she. She starts to look at the transactional exchange much, much differently. And in fact, with genuine desire, she abandons that transactional exchange in favor for her emotions and strong feelings of being bonded to this man that she has desire for. This desire trumps and completely blows the lid off any negotiation of in exchange of goods and value that's happening in the relationship. This is why men and women will get into bad relationships where their needs aren't getting met and they'll stay in them. They do that because their emotions tell them to. And you can't consider these emotions as part of the transactional exchange as people who promote this model do, because it's not accurate. It would be like saying this real estate negotiation I'm in, where the guy can point a gun at my face and where my drink is being poisoned, that this is a fair negotiation in an exchange of value. It's clearly not. It's turned into something completely different than what we would think of as a negotiation once the gun and the poison, right, enters the equation. Well, this is the same thing with our romantic and sexual relationships. When desire enters the equation, it blows the lid off of this cost benefit analysis in exchange of goods and transactional value. And the whole reason why game and seduction skills are important is because you get a girl to transcend the transactional exchange. And I will, in fact, argue that if both the guy and the girl in the relationship cannot transcend transactional needs to have a genuine desire for each other, then that is not going to be a happy or good relationship. The grass is always greener somewhere else. And being in a relationship, even if you're still you're staying with that relationship out of a feeling of necessity because there really isn't a better deal that you can see anywhere else, isn't a very exciting way to show up in your relationships. Being in a relationship because you desire the other person and they desire you to such a point where you'll abandon some of those transactional needs. That's the kind of relationship that can succeed and be happy. Now, I'm not suggesting that you abandon your needs and that she should abandon hers, but the willingness to do so, at least for a period of time, due to desire, is the key to being bonded and happiness. Even if you never have to actually give up transactional needs for a time, even if both partners in the equation, the man and the woman, are, really complimenting each other and killing it in life. And so there isn't much sacrifice that needs to happen. The willingness to do so because of the desire for each other is what makes the difference between a long-term happy relationship, which is a low percentage of relationships, compared to 80 to 85% of everybody else who are not in happy relationships. So coming up with this transactional model where the relationship is an exchange of value, an exchange of goods, and everything is a negotiation, that may be true for 80% or more of the relationships out there. But it's also true that 80% more or more of these relationships are not happy. They're either breaking up because they're miserable or they're sticking it out and just making something work that they're not really that happy with. They're not really that excited to be there. It's just a better deal hasn't presented itself someplace else. And that's a terrible place to be as a man, where a woman is with you just because the better deal hasn't quite presented itself. Not a good place. You need to have her there because she sees you as the best, not because you're transactionally the best or you check the blocks, because she can always find somebody. If she's hot and she takes care of herself, even after quote unquote the wall, she can always find somebody else who checks a different block that you don't check. What makes her stay is the bond that she has, the emotional attachment, the desire that's there. And you will not maintain a happy relationship that she's happy to be in without that. The transactional model of relationships does not consider desire and human attachment and bonding as what it is, which is the complete negation of any negotiation that's happening. It's bringing something into the negotiation that completely controls and changes every element of that negotiation, which is why this transactional model is a failed model. And people who promote it don't understand how desire works, which is a shame. It tells me that they don't experience that very often. And it also tells me that their skills in seduction, if it's on the male side of it, they're not going to be very good. They're not going to give you the tools that you need to be successful and happy. And that's why so many guys who are successful in other areas of their life struggle in their relationships. A relationship is not a negotiation, not a happy one. A relationship is a bond based on desire for one another. And then you pact together to see how you can meet those needs that you have. So you're working with this person to meet needs. But the reason for being there isn't because of that. It's because of the desire and that you have for each other, the bond you have for each other, both sexually as well as emotionally. And having relationship skills as a man is being able to lead that dynamic that's bonded together through desire. And it's also being able to maintain that desire. It's also being able to spark and cause that desire through your communication skills, your game skills, and the way you treat the woman that you're looking at. It does not matter how successful you are. It does not matter what your sexual market value is. If your game skills and skills of building desire are non-existent. Now, most of people sometimes stumble into some desire building skills because there's an innate aspect to it. But most guys are pretty clueless. And so a lot of you listening right now are successful. You're chasing higher sexual market value. And someone told you on the internet that as long as you do that and you can get in, the basics of communication to get a woman on a date, your sexual market value and your negotiation skills in a relationship is somehow going to lead you to the kind of relationship that you want with women, where they genuinely desire you and want to be with you. Some of you have this illusion, and I can't tell you how wrong you are, because I've coached thousands of men at this point, many who are successful and who have been successful, and they had success in many different areas of their life, and they're failing in their relationships. They had high SMV, they had a lot to offer, and they don't know how to communicate and build desire, and they don't know how to maintain frame in the relationship and keep that desire going. And without those skill sets, your relationship will be an utter failure. That's it. Full stop. And that's why this model sucks. And anybody talking about this model as if this is the way to getting what you want is completely wrong. And they have millions of subscribers. and you are listening to them and following their advice to your detriment, to your divorce, to your miserable relationships, to your inability to get into a committed relationship because you're too scared and it's just my turn. She's not yours. I got to spin plates, bro. Can't build a relationship with somebody because blah, women. No, you are the problem because you don't have the skills. There's a link. You can click it, get in my community for free, ask more questions. If you're confused about this, or if it better would be that it makes sense and you want to learn these skills and do better, get in the community. It's free and we can help you out. There's a lot of help to be had there and there's a lot of free resources there. And I'm trying to get you guys who genuinely want help off of the entertainment center of YouTube and away from censorship and algorithms and dumb ideas. And we can start fostering good results in your life. Okay. We got to work on what's between the ears and your inner game, your mental performance. And we got to work on your seduction skills and your ability to do well with women. So that's it. You guys will see it when you watch other content creators, a lot of them. You'll see the transactional model being presented as the right way. I caution you against it. You need to, again, as a solution, learn to build desire, learn to have frame. These are the things that I talk about here. Subscribe, like the channel. You'll hear more about this. Give me feedback on the video. Let me know if you liked it. And these are things that we'll talk about in the community. Hope to see you there.